So we're joined now by Channel Africa producer Izak Khomo to talk about Daniel Arap Moi's legacy. A very good evening to you, Izak, and thank you so much for speaking to us. A checkered path, one must definitely say. Okay. 24 years in power, and he has been characterized as somebody who largely manipulated the ethnic card in order to wield power over his politics and of dividing Kenya as opposed to really bringing it together post-independence. Your thoughts on this?
It's a big lie. That's a big lie. I mean, Kenya became ethnically divided under Kenyatta. Under Kenyatta, that's why you find that the very important political leaders who were not Kikuyus, they were literally assassinated. And you find that Oginga, he left the party and he was actually sort of interred, he was detained. Yeah, you've got people like Tom Mboya. Yeah, he was a very powerful figure within KANU party. He was one of the founder members of the KANU party. KANU party was founded basically by Oginga and Tom Mboya at the time when Kenyatta was in detention. But those two leading figures who actually fought for Kenyatta to be released and actually moved to give Kenyatta the seat as a respected old man, we actually moved out by a Kikuyu clique within the KANU. So we cannot say that Moi was actually the architect of tribalism in Kenya. Basically, it was the Kenyatta time. Yeah.
And this has been something that has really stuck with Kenyan politics, especially when one's studying post-colonialism and democratic order in Kenya. You spoke about Tom Mboya. I want to talk about his relationship with Arap Moi and how that led Kenyan politics to where it was.
You see, Arap Moi, initially, he was not a member of the KANU, of the ruling KANU party then. Arap Moi, Daniel Arap Moi, was actually a leader of a party which was called KADU, Kenya African Democratic Union. He was himself and another politician by the name of Ronald Ngala. Now, Moi came from the Kalenjin tribe. Now, Moi, basically, his politics in the colonial times was this, that they were fought for independence, but they said that with this independence, Kenya should become a federated state. Yeah, whereby there should be federal governments. He claimed that the big tribes, which were the Kikuyus and the Luos, they being together, they would dominate the other tribes. Now, that movement failed. Kenyatta was released. After being released, he became president. And the immediate post-independence era, KADU actually sort of lost its momentum. And Moi and Ronald Ngala, they did join KANU.
And during that period, I recall it was said it was because KADU was successfully infiltrated by people who tore apart those who were trying to destabilize this propensity for only a few ethnic grouping or the elites to...
Well, I would not say so. I mean to say that the momentum then and the stature of Kenyatta, it was just like our Mandela. Yeah, he came from detention at Lodwar and he was taken to be the real independent fighter. Although he was not a member of Mau Mau, but it was given an aura that he was a Mau Mau leader, which he was not really. Yeah, he was just a political leader before he went before he was detained together with people like Gay. Yeah.
Let's talk about Daniel Arap Moi's tenure at the helm of the country, what mostly characterized it in your point of view, and the legacy that he leaves behind.
Well, first of all, when Moi took over power, he came there as a vice president. And he was made the vice president because it was just a way of silencing the dissatisfaction of another group, the Kalenjin. At that time, the Kalenjins, at the time of Kenyatta, they were protesting. They had those protestations over their lands, which were actually sort of taken away from them and given to white settlers. These lands were actually made available by the British government, and they made available for resettlement by Africans. That was in the post-Mau Mau period. But when those lands were made available, the people who were mostly settling those lands, it was people who were displaced from the Kikuyu Highlands. Yeah? And under the independence Kenya, that thing continued, where you find that the Kalenjins, they left out. Yeah? And they protested. They had a Nandi Hill conference which protested the giving away of their lands to people who were not ancestral to those lands. And Kenyatta sent Moi to placate them. And after that, he took him as a vice president. But when Kenyatta died, there was a very big move within the Kikuyu elite, which was actually controlling the politics of the party, KANU party, and also the economy, to actually remove him. This was led by the Attorney General, who was Charles Njonjo. But Moi did take over. But the sad thing is that when he went to the State House, he was sent there in an armored car. The head of the Kenyan army, he was a Somali gentleman, I forget the general, who actually took him in an armored car and took him to the State House. So basically just shows that there was a very big resistance against Moi. And just to end, Moi, when he got into power, he knew there was this big group against him. He just said one thing, that Ntafata Nyao, which means that I'm going to follow the footsteps of the big man. So
are you saying that those who accuse him of intolerance, especially let's look at the changes made in the 1982 constitution, that they have rewritten his legacy and his role in Kenyan politics?
Well, basically Moi is a person who was at the spot when multi-party politics was getting into Kenya and also into the whole of the African country. The Berlin Wall had fallen, and there was this big move and pressure from the Western countries for actually countries to democratize. So he was forced to handling the change. And now that is the thing which gave him a bad name. But he handled it well, because after that, in 1992, you see, I mean, he started having democratic elections. He won his 2 terms, and 2002, when his terms were finished, he actually stepped out. So basically, I don't know what they're talking about Moi, but Moi, he served 2 terms, that's 10 years under democratic rule, 14 years under one-party state, but that was started by Jomo Kenyatta. Nobody talks about Jomo Kenyatta's one-party state, which actually involved the elimination of people like Pio Pinto, Tom Mboya, Ronald Ngala, Kairuki. It was frightful. But people don't talk about Kenyatta, and those people are still holding power till today.
Conversation to continue on another day. Thank you so much for your time and insights. Channel Africa producer Izak Khomo speaking to us about the legacy of Daniel Arap Moi.